Hello and welcome again to an episode of Front Seat to Climate Change. And we're at the second annual Dawn Breathe Pakistan International Climate Change Conference. And as we go to the proceedings of the day, we'll be talking to various experts and gaining their knowledge and insights on the climate challenges that Pakistan faces and also what are the solutions and way forward. Joining me first is Adeel Abbas, who is the regional climate lead from World Bank, and he just came from the first opening session and has a lot of ideas and thoughts on what Pakistan and other developing countries who are similarly vulnerable can do to gain access to climate financing as well as building broader resilience. So thank you for joining us, Adeel. I think with that comment, we can get into the real nitty-gritty of this discussion. Pakistan, as we know, is not a big climate polluter. The GHG emissions of the country are, less than global 0.05%, about maybe touching 1% by 2030. But regardless of that, we're very vulnerable. There are a bunch of reasons for that: our geography, our economics, our governance capacity. But how does the World Bank view all of this when it says that we are going to come up with a country partnership framework? How does it imagine that these different vulnerabilities will be resolved in the long term?
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the kind invitation and generosity. We all know there are so many issues around global climate change, architecture, financing, the vulnerabilities. But at the end of the day, I think we all need to understand how it is impacting us as a country. And because it is impacting our country and our children, we really need to also take the leadership role in how we can address these vulnerabilities. From World Bank perspective, and this is why our country partnership framework, which is over the 10 years, will bring about $40 billion of investment, puts climate change as the core enabler of development. So we don't look at climate change different from development programs or different projects. So we look at climate change as in what do we need to do in agriculture sector, what do we need to provide water security, what do we need to avoid disasters, how can we build disaster risk resilience, how can we protect communities against vulnerabilities of floods. So we look at climate change as an integrated development issue, integrated social issue for communities in Pakistan. So that's why we're not necessarily looking at these issues as a separate sideline environmental issue only. It is really at the heart and the core of it, a development issue for World Bank.
When we talk about development in general, there's one key ingredient of development, which is investment and finance. And in many cases, we heard this story, which countries like Pakistan, but also developing countries in general, have this challenge of creating bankability or making the financing of a project attractive enough that someone comes and invests in it. Do you think this is still a challenge, and what would be the simplest steps to take to increase the viability of these projects?
I think there are a number of things we can do. I think climate financing and how we can enable larger amounts of financing for green, low carbon and resilience is at the very core of how I support climate action across different countries, including now in Pakistan as well. So yes, it is a challenge, but I think it is becoming much more, people are becoming much more aware on what can we do about this. The biggest answer or the best approach to this is we can't just expect concessional financing or loans to be the solution. What we can and should do is blend these concessional financing sources from global sources, which are increasingly limited, with how the government development policies and budgets work, and then use those two sources to enable and bring in more investments. And there are a number of ways we can do it. I'll just give you one example. For instance, carbon markets, there's a huge demand for carbon credits globally. So if we are able to generate carbon credits that are high integrity, there are global investors that will buy them from Pakistan and many other jurisdictions as well. So you can use those resources to enable or provide viability gap funding as well in many instances across different sectors. And that's one thing that we are now working towards as well. In Pakistan, I'm leading one of the projects where we are trying to do a demonstration transaction. We'll bring around $40 million for 2 World Bank supported projects, where we will provide carbon financing to those projects so that we can really add more to the impact of those projects through these sources, which would not be grants or loans. They would really be results-based carbon financing.
Related to that, I think carbon markets is a very interesting, probably complicated subject as well. But when we talk about these projects, they have to be in certain sectors. Where do you think are the largest gains possible in a country like Pakistan? Energy, urban development, agriculture, these sectors are at the very heart of our impact story as well. So where do you think the biggest gains are possible?
I would highlight 2. One of those is climate smart agriculture. I really think Pakistan is at the epicenter of where climate is affecting how cropping practices are changing, how different climate resistant and heat resistant seeds are needed, how water can be brought in terms of consumption for agricultural production. So I think climate smart agriculture is one of those big areas where you could create jobs, which is at the heart of World Bank's strategy. You could provide employment at scale. You can really engage communities in a large sector, large development overall at a country level. Second one, I think, is water. I think in Pakistan, we all know we have had this issue of too much water in certain months and too little water in certain months. How do we manage our water resources? How do we value the water? Is it just a free resource that we should use as we please? Or should we look at how valuable it is and how should we be efficient in using? In agriculture, for instance, in Pakistan and in many other countries, consumes most amounts of water. We need to start looking at the efficiency of use of that water. So I think agriculture, climate smart agriculture, and water resources management are 2 biggest opportunities. Of course, the third one, which is now much more commercially viable already, is energy transition. So I think we can look at all of the alternative energy resources and see how they could be deployed so that we can gradually reduce the dependence on hydrocarbons and move towards a cleaner, more energy secure Pakistan.
Thank you for those thoughts. I think this was very useful and also a good start to the conference. We look forward to having more conversations. Stay tuned.